Welcome to Hope is Here. My name is Greg Horn. We are continuing looking at Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, and we're focusing on the part where it says that Jesus would be a wonderful counselor. If you missed yesterday's program, we just shared about, we looked at the question, who do you need Jesus to be this Christmas season? And we're basing this off of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, where it says, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will rest on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace." Friends, aren't you thankful to know that Jesus will be whatever those four that you need? And we looked at yesterday about those different four areas, but we decided to focus on this week, today, the wonderful counselor part. And we talked about yesterday that three things we can learn when we need some wisdom. And the first one that we got to yesterday is just admitting that we need some help. We just have to use some humility, show some humility, and be humble and to say, hey, I'm struggling. I need some help. And so if you missed yesterday's program, we shared about some of the reasons why we don't go for help and why we should go for help. So if you missed yesterday's program, I hope you'll go to our website, hopeisheretoday.org. That's hopeisheretoday.org, and just listen to that 14-minute program. I know that you will be blessed by that. But I want to look at a second reason why we need wisdom and how we can get wisdom from Jesus, the wonderful counselor. And that is to ask someone who has experience with the situation you're dealing with. Ask someone who has experience with the situation you're dealing with. I've been trying to write a book, and I've got the first draft done of Hope is Here. And, as I've gone through this process and now revising the second draft, I've talked to several people that have written books before me and just tried to get wisdom from them and learn from their successes and from their failures. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14 says, "Without wise leadership, a nation falls. There is safety in having many advisors." And so, anytime I've got to make a big decision in my life, I always love to go to other people and that have experience in the area that I'm at. When I wanted to lose weight, I talked to some people that I could tell I've lost weight. And I had people talk to me about Trainer Joe's, Trainer Joe Olagus here in Lexington. It's a faith-based program. And, it was great. It was great. I lost 20 pounds doing that. And it was wonderful. And I think it's trainerjoes.com. I would encourage you, if you want to start something out in January, the new year, that you do that. And know that you would be blessed by doing one of Trainer Joe's programs. I also then wanted to tone up, and I heard about a place that I knew a guy that started a thing called Stronger Life, and I did that, and I'm thankful to know that that was a great thing for me to be able to go, because it was for 55 and up, and that way, they make you stretch before each class, and they do after you're done also stretch. And to be honest with you, on my own, I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing that. And so I'm thankful to know that there's places that can go to that are for people that are older. Then there's a new place called Hyphen up in Georgetown, Kentucky, for my friends that live up in Georgetown. It's for people 55 and up. Actually, I think it starts at 60 for that one. Stronger Life's 55 and up. But Hyphen, it's physical therapy and fitness for 60 and older up in Georgetown, Kentucky. And I know the two guys that have founded that, and they do a great job. There's physical therapy there. There's group fitness classes, and there's personal training. So I would encourage you to check out Hyphen in physical therapy and fitness for 60 plus in Georgetown. I know that you would be blessed by that. But that's when I wanted to get in shape. I started looking to people that I knew that would be able to help me in those areas, and it's been a game changer for me. Benjamin Franklin said, "Who is wise? He that learns from everyone." Friends, we all know certain things about certain areas of life because of our life experiences, our education. And, I love it, man. Everybody knows something, okay? And I just love talking with different people from so many different demographics and backgrounds and just learning from them. And I'm thankful that I feel like I was blessed with a good mom and dad that were good listeners. And I've learned to ask questions and just listen. And friends, if you just ask people questions like, hey, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? Where do you work? And you'll just find common things you have. And then people will tell you, what do you like to do for fun? That's one of the things I love, to ask people what they do like to do for fun and hear about their hobbies. And man, it's just a really, really cool thing to see how God does that. So I'm thankful to know that we can do those type of things and ask people and learn from them. And then sometimes when you need something, you just say, hey, if you're good with finances, who's your financial advisor? If you need a good accountant, ask somebody who is, who they deal with, that helps them with their personal and their professional taxes. And, just asking for help's something great to do. And find somebody with experience. And I'll get people quite often that'll ask me for, hey, I'd like a good devotional book. And I've got several that I've read over the years. And if I know them decently, I'll recommend different ones. Some will really challenge people, okay? Even makes you kind of wonder, hey, am I really a Christian? Think about My Utmost for His Highest with Oswald Chambers. And, but I'm glad I did that because it helped raise the bar. Then for somebody kind of new in their faith, I love recommending Friend of God by Rusty George, a really good 40-day devotional going through the book of John and 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John and Revelation. And so there's just a lot of great devotional books out there. One that's kind of in the middle, not too heavy, but also not, for somebody necessarily new in their faith. It's called Mornings with the Holy Spirit by Jennifer LeClaire. So I've just been blessed. That's three of, I've probably done about 6 or 7 different devotional books in my life. And what I usually do is repeat and go through cycles with those because, depending on what season of life I'm in, God will speak to me in a different place. A third thing that I've learned when I need some wisdom, and this is a hard one for me, friends. It's not a 4-letter word, but it ought to be. It's like a dirty word to me, is patient. Be patient. Oh, my goodness. The old saying goes, be careful what you pray for. You pray for patience. And then God says, okay, I'll help you learn how to experience exhibiting patience. And so I just I've been careful about praying that, but it's one of the things God's really had to work into my life as with my type A personality and with all the things that God's entrusted me to do with. I'm so thankful for the different servant leadership positions He's put me in, but He's taught me a lot about being patient. Here's the fact of the matter, though, friends, as I reflected on this and putting this talk together, I've rarely regretted taking my time when making the decision. However, I've often regretted when I've made a quick decision, right? I mean, we all love that new car smell till that first payment comes in the next month. And then we've got, 4 or 5 years of car payments. And we're like, wow, by the 3rd month and that new car smell's worn out. You're like, goodness, man, what was I thinking? Or got to be laughing as we're going to go into New Year here coming up in a couple of weeks here or so about buying exercise equipment that we said, well, I'm going to work out at home on a regular basis. And now, if you're honest, it's a clothes rack, right? Oh, my goodness. But, friends, we need to have patience. And, man, that's how we learn. I mean, I think that's when we realize that He's God and we're not. Amen? I mean, if things start going well and they happen kind of in my timing, then it kind of makes me realize that, it makes me start thinking I'm in control. And friends, it just takes one phone call, one car accident, one meeting with, your doctor and, you get a bad health report or your boss comes in and says, hey, I'm sorry, but your job's being eliminated. Or your spouse says, hey, sorry to tell you this, but I want a divorce. I mean, life can change in an instant, friends, and we realize, storms and weather and things that cause havoc, with the weather, and we just realize we're not in control. But, I'm thankful that we have the 4 seasons of life. And I talk about this quite often on Hope's Here, but wasn't planning on talking about today, but I feel like I'm led to. We have winter, spring, summer, and fall. And we all love spring because, man, things are blooming, coming fresh. Summertime's great. Then, man, you wear a short sleeve shirt, shorts. Man, the sun feels good on your face, and you just feel great. Then fall comes, and man, in Kentucky, we're excuse me, so blessed that we get to experience the changing of the colors of the leaves. And oh my gosh, it's just a little bit on heaven and earth here in Kentucky with the fall season. But then we get into winter, which we're approaching now, and everything's died. The leaves, the trees are bare, the leaves are gone, and it gets dark early, and you wake up, it's dark, and you get off from work and it's dark, and it's just it's dreary and cold, and it's a tough time. But the good news is, if we're patient, we know spring's coming, but you got to be patient. And I think that's why God gave us the 4 seasons of life. Because if we're honest, if it was summer all the time, I don't think we'd appreciate it. It's one of those things that, I know people that retire and go to Florida, and I don't blame them. But I also know people that say, if they're fortunate, that, maybe they have a small place in Florida that they go during the winter time, and then they come back to Kentucky for the summer, or they go different times because they said, I don't appreciate it all the time, but by doing that, when the seasons, I do realize, hey, I want a little winter, I want to experience Christmas here and see that, but then I'm ready to go, and where it's not as cold. And, it's just, we need to experience the seasons of life, friends. Psalm 27:14 is a verse that God's really spoken a lot to me over the last few years. It's a powerful verse. It talks about the power of waiting. It says, wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage. Yes, wait for the Lord. And so, I love in that one verse, it says the word wait twice. But it also tells us that waiting is not an inactive season, friends. It tells us we have to be strong, and we have to let our hearts take courage. Okay? You have to choose to wait. You have to be strong. You have to choose to be strong. You have to choose to have courage when you're waiting on the Lord. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to God, and he will make your path straight. And friends, that was one of my life verses 20 years ago when my world collapsed with the flood, the bankruptcy, the unexpected divorce, and losing my home and business because of a flood. And, I just said, God, where are you? And man, I just had to learn while I was waiting for God to help me put the broken pieces of my life back together again. It was just a minute by minute, hour by hour time, some days, okay? Then eventually it got better, and days and weeks, and I just got much stronger. But man, that's one of my life verses. Maybe that's what you need right now, even though you can't see God or feel God, just to trust him and just quote that verse. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge God, and he will make your path straight. So friends, I want you to remember this Christmas season, because of that baby in the manger, that we can know, okay, that Jesus is a wonderful counselor. He's a mighty God. He's an everlasting Father, and he's a Prince of Peace. If you've been blessed by this program, I hope you'll share it with somebody else. If you've been blessed by this ministry, I hope you'll consider making a year-end donation. All donations are tax deductible, and you can go to our website, hopeisheretoday.org. That's hopeisheretoday.org.